Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of Westerospective, where we bring you Game of Thrones, the old seasons and the new. I'm Geoff.
I'm Ron.
Brought to you in a new webcam, so I apologize for the HD, Geoff, because no one wants to see that. No, just look away. Just look away.
At least you just don't go suddenly solid yellow or solid red.
Yeah. I was like, active camouflage. But yes, today
You're
we
like
are
Predator. It's just the outline of you.
I just started doing like the clicks and
your eyes just flash.
Yeah. Today we are talking season 3, episode 5, and if for whatever reason this is your first time joining us, please be caught up on the show before watching this. We're watching this with the intention of revisiting it, knowing what we know after the current episodes. So definitely be caught up. And also just a quick shout out, we will be starting back up tonight's watch for the current season. Not this Sunday, I believe it is the next Sunday. So be on the lookout for opening night. We are definitely going to be covering the new single-digit days until more fucking Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Ron. Are you hyped?
Finally. It's
God
finally almost here.
Right. Okay. But let's not say it on ceremony anymore. Let's get to season 3, episode 5, Kissed by Fire. So the episode opens up with the Beric Dondarrion v. Hound fight, which is, how metal is that sword fight, by the way? It's pretty fucking badass.
I see what you did there.
When he, like, all the special effects they did for the constantly on fire sword, like, must have been a pain in the ass, because
yeah,
it is incredible. Like, even to have fire, like active fire on screen for a TV show or movie at all is a pain in the ass. But to have it on a moving target that is being swung around as much as his sword is in that scene, like, it was impressive special effects work.
Yeah, it was very well done. And if it was real fire, that's even more impressive because cameras don't usually handle that well. Yeah,
it was expertly done. So the fight continues for a little bit. The way that the Hound ends it by slicing through the sword,
into the shoulder, into the chest,
like down a fucking foot almost.
Yeah.
Like, good God. The only real character stuff going on, I think, to mention is that Arya is cheering on his death because she just wants him fucking dead, like, more than anybody.
He's on the list.
Yeah. And not really much to talk about just yet, because they do establish at the very tail end of the sequence that, you know, he's back alive, like, within 30 seconds. And that's really, we'll talk about more throughout the episode. From there, we transition to Snow and Ygritte. This is the sequence where it is those two, along with Tormund, and I forgot to note his name, but the warg guy, the wildling warg guy, is basically talking about their reconnaissance mission they're going on, where they're trying to figure out, like, the remaining strongholds. They're trying to get info out of Snow as to which of the strongholds actually have people in them. And then the culminating thing is Snow lying about how many men they have at Castle Black.
Yes.
Because he tells them they have 1,000. How much would you guesstimate they actually have at Castle Black at that point? Because Mormont and his entire squad, those that are still alive, they're not at Castle Black.
Yeah.
So there's maybe like 150, maybe. Like,
I was going to venture maybe even not 100.
Yeah, it's something, you know, pretty, like, they could easily crush it if they wanted to.
Because if it weren't for the only reason the Night's Watch survives is really the wall, because they don't have the manpower for anything. That's a plot point later when we know the White Walkers are coming.
They don't have the manpower, but they have the scythe power. Can we just skip to that episode to talk about? Good God, that episode's so cool.
Is that the next one?
The Scythe one?
Yeah.
No, that's the second to last episode of season 4.
Oh.
Yeah. It's going to be a while.
I was hoping it was the next one, because the next episode's called The Climb.
That is just where they're, I think it's, Tormund, Snow, Ygritte, and them going up the wall. and I think the ending of the episode is like them actually reaching the top. But it's really just them kind of running around at that point. They don't end up actually, because when they have the fight, it is with Mance and the giant and everyone actually like gathered together and everything. So from there, but the only real thing to mention is that Snow has massive cojones, like literally face to face with all of them. And Tormund's a scary dude on a good day. So him just like standing. They did it. They did a really good job.
At the moment, he's almost comical later.
Oh yeah, completely. I love that people have screen captured that scene when he was just like gawking at Brienne and she's like shyly looking away. I love that image. So from there, they go back to the Hound, and this is when they're talking about his release because per their rules, if he was meant to die and he was guilty, the Lord of Light would have made sure that he died. Wasn't how the fight went down. The Hound won. And they're basically, I forget what it was, but they're in the process of letting him go, but he's still obviously incredibly pissed off at all of them, even though they're letting him go.
Right.
You had said that you had very little notes, so if I get to the point where I'm about to skip anything that you had written down, just let me know. But
yeah, so far you're sailing along, same thing I've got.
Most of the stuff to talk about happens later on in the episode. Let's see. From there, we go to Jaime and Brienne, who have finally made it back to Roose Bolton. Locke is dropping them off. And Locke is talking some shit to Jaime, and Roose actually shuts him the fuck down. I think he says like, if you don't hold your tongue, you won't have it any longer, or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
He has Brienne unbound, and he finally has them remove Jaime's hand. Because what pisses Roose off is that he asks Jaime, he's like, he makes the observation like, you've lost the hand, and the Locke says, it's not lost, it's right here, and he like dangles it in front of his fucking face.
Yeah. And
he doesn't fully understand that like you don't fuck with Tywin and his cherished son, because like Roose is kind of petrified of the idea of what is going to happen because of it.
Yeah, and rightly so.
Yes, which we'll figure out more on Tywin by the end of the episode about how everyone is scared shitless of the man. Rightfully so. So once he gets rid of the hand, he sends Jaime to go see our resident necromancer, Qyburn. Yes. And again, shout out to the special effects team, because his hand, or like the stump, I should say, looks gross as fuck. And just like when he's like tweezering it, like
I was gonna say, fuck the sound guys.
Like I don't know what they did, but that little like gurgling sound they added with him,
yes.
It gives you like chills.
He's tweezering it, and then later you hear the snipping. And
yeah, because Qyburn wants to just remove the arm because it's the safest thing to do because it's festering. And then Jaime's like, no. And then what would you say is his mindset for rejecting the milk of the poppy and kind of just like bringing on the pain, basically?
To prove to himself he still has the strength, or he's still strong.
Yeah, like I was trying to think about it. I couldn't officially like figure out what I thought of that.
It felt like to me almost like a baptism by fire. I just don't know. Like I'm having a hard time figuring that out as well.
He's almost like sticking it to Locke, like kind of like manning up, like fuck him, bring it, I can handle it type of thing.
Handle it. Oh, Jeff. Yeah, the quote that I had written down when he rejects that was, there'll be pain, and he says, I'll scream. He says, there'll be quite a bit of pain. He's like, I'll scream loudly.
Just jumping ahead a little bit, one of the best Jaime episodes, if not the best. He's fucking great in this episode.
Yes.
So from there, we go to Littlefinger and Cersei. This is where Cersei basically tasks Baelish with getting dirt on the Tyrells because she now knows what the Tyrells are planning as far as now I forget, I'm trying to make sure I'm not getting scenes mixed up. Does Cersei know at this point? Oh no, she just wants dirt. She doesn't know exactly what she's gonna find. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, she just wants him to dig up dirt.
Yes. And then she basically threatens him by saying, this time I expect it to go better than when you were tasked with finding Arya Stark. And then Littlefinger is like, yes, Your Grace, right away, Your Grace. And then
Which is funny because he knows damn well where Arya Stark was.
Yeah.
I don't think he knows that she's escaped at this point, but
yeah.
In his mind, he knows where she is.
Yeah, he knew exactly where she was, and she wasn't in the best point for him to get use out of her as far as like a piece in the chess game. So he just let her go. That's just how he operates. So the next scene they transition to is Tyrion, Podrick, and resident favorite grandmother of There Will Be Expletives.
Oh my god, I love this woman.
What's crazy is like Tyrion is known for how candid he is about everything, and even he is like taken aback by how straightforward Olenna is. Like she's just like, I like the figs because they move the bowels in the afternoon or whatever she says.
Yes.
He's just like,
And and what's funny is that's something that he himself might say, but because it's coming from a woman and a head of a major house right now. I mean, I get her son is technically head, but we all know she's in charge.
Yeah.
Like it just kind of takes him aback, like you said. The other thing I noted is other than when he's talking to Tywin, do you see Tyrion not in command of the conversation?
Very, very rarely.
Yes.
Because
she was in command of the conversation the whole time.
Because, even when he's talking with Khaleesi, who is like basically like the most powerful person in the show at the point where he meets her, he's not afraid to talk with her and to tell her straight up. But with Olenna, he's just like, Yeah, I love every scene she's in for sure. Did you have any other notes for that sequence?
Not really. I had a specific note where when she mentions, when she makes her point about she knows full well about the expense of war and everything, and she's going on about all the things that she's lending the crown at the moment.
Oh,
and he just sits there with his wine like.
she lists off like a 30 item list of what all she has given them.
Yeah, and he's just like, oh my god. Yeah,
I like her line too, where she talks about how like your reputation consists of I forget the adjectives used, but one of them she uses like debauched. It's like, imagine my disappointment when I talk with this like dull accountant or whatever she says to him.
Yeah,
she's great. The next sequence is Gendry and Arya. This is where just to end cap the sequence with Olenna, she agrees to pay for half the wedding, which will come into play later. Gendry and Arya are back at the Brotherhood Without Banners, like little hideout. This is where Gendry tells her he's going to stay behind and basically be their smith, just because I've been serving people my entire life. And these guys chose their leader. It's a brotherhood. It's not a king scenario situation. Right. So Arya's kind of devastated by it because he's been like her rock, basically like the only person she has to count on.
He's been her stand-in brother this whole time.
Yeah.
The one important note that I made, because I couldn't remember if he knew anything about this or not, and then he basically straight up says that he doesn't. But when he was listing all the reasons why he doesn't want to leave the Brotherhood, and one of them was that the blacksmith that he served in King's Landing sold him to the Night's Watch. Remember, that happened because Ned had him do that to save his life.
Yeah, he just didn't know.
So he still doesn't know that he's Baratheon's bastard.
I'm trying to remember. He has to figure out when Melisandre talks to him about it.
Yes, she tells him because he has king's blood, and she needs king's blood for her ritual. And then Davos,
quick aside.
sends off the life of Gendry.
Quick aside, we have 13 episodes left. Do we see Gendry again, yes or no?
I'm guessing no.
Man, if they do, it had better be like good, because it was almost like they forgot that it happened, type of thing.
He's just out in the middle of the ocean, guys. the actual actor, not the character, guys.
He was never seen again. It's just like a documentary. I would watch it. I'm not gonna lie. So, now I wanted to ask you this.
Okay.
Because the next scene is where they show the Lannister cousins getting killed, the kids. Did you realize at this point that it was the Tommen actor? Because he was the kid to like...
Since you pointed it out last time we saw them, I was looking for it when I saw them this time, and I was like, holy crap, it is.
It is that... Like, it blew my mind when I realized it in that earlier episode. I was like, what the fuck?
He's in the show as two different characters, and both of them die.
Yeah. So they are killed due to the Karstarks betraying Robb. In their eyes, they are getting vengeance, for the main Karstark guy, Ricard, is getting vengeance for his son. Everyone else is just kind of like, following in his lead. And they get caught, and they are brought before Robb. And Karstark's whole thing is he is just talking mad shit to Robb.
His whole thing was hashtag not my king.
Yes. And one of the things that I made note of was one of the guys along with the little like assassination squad is like, I was just there to watch. They made me do it. And Robb's just like, oh, he was there to watch. Kill him last so we can watch the others die. I was like, damn, that is some cold-blooded badass shit from Robb. And it's just kind of sucks. Like, I didn't really realize as much until just this set of viewing of going back and revisiting the episodes. Like, Robb makes some dumbass decisions, but that doesn't make him not a good character. Like, I think he is a good character. He's just, when you think about how much has been thrown on his plate, like the guy has lost, like, either all of his family members outside of like his mother are either captured, in the wind, or dead.
Yeah.
He is trying to fight off not just an army led by Tywin fucking Lannister.
The odds couldn't be more against him.
Yes, and up until this episode, in this plot line, he had been kicking Tywin's ass. Like, it's incredibly impressive what he accomplishes.
He basically never loses a battle, right? He doesn't lose until the Red Wedding.
Yeah. I can't remember if they... Yeah, because I don't think they get into another battle because the Red Wedding is only like 4 episodes away. His plot line is, and we'll encap it within this episode later on. But yeah, now here's my question to you that I wanted to bring up. So he has 2 paths that he can take with Karstark. He can kind of go the Ned route, which he does in killing him, just because he butchered 2 kids that were innocent. He killed them just because of their last names. It was cold-blooded murder.
Yes.
But he basically signs over the war effort, or he can imprison him like his mother and his wife want him to do, and kind of maintain, their numbers, because Karstark is the leader. One of the reasons he thinks that he's 110% safe, other than he doesn't respect Robb, is he knows if Robb kills him, he loses half of his men. Literally, it's like half of the army. Right. What would you? Well, if you were in his shoes, what would you have done?
Honestly, I'm not sure that it entirely matters, because Karstark's men are taking up Robb Stark's cause. How much shit do you give about that man's cause when he kills the leader of your clan?
No, that's what. No, I'm saying if you were.
Well, I mean, how much of a shit do you give when he's holding your leader hostage?
Oh, hostage. Even? Yeah, that's a good point. Well,
because
now
you're like being forced into it rather than taking up his cause the way that they were.
They would continue fighting, but they would be half-assing it at the most. So,
right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky situation. Like I think
I'm not sure that there is any.
It's a no-win scenario basically.
Kobayashi Maru.
and like one of my last notes for Robb is, when you think about it, what gets him killed is his indecisiveness at different points in the series, because the main thing is he is dishonorable with his marriage. He's dishonorable to Walder Frey and pisses him off and gets 3 generations of Stark killed. And what makes him be put into that situation for it to come back and bite him in the ass is he is honorable. He kills Karstark for being a cold-blooded murderer in the exact... He basically does what Ned wouldn't have done and later does what he would have done, and he's, he ends up paying the price. He plays both sides of the aisle eventually, being dishonorable and honorable, and it's like both of them fucked him royally. So it's another like one of those like no-win scenario things. Even in Game of Thrones, his story is particularly tragic when you think about it, because outside, it's like you get why he does everything he does, and in the hindsight being 2020, they're stupid ass decisions, but it's hindsight.
Right.
I think he is, and I think he's an underrated character. I think that's what I'm getting at.
I think he's an underrated character, and even the dumb decisions that he makes, like you said, just watching, not knowing what happens after each episode when you're watching it all for the first time, it doesn't seem like a dumb decision. It does not seem that important when he marries her instead of Walder Frey's daughter. It does not seem that important at all, and that's what gets him killed.
And you compare it to 99% of all their pieces of fiction you have absorbed or watched or read or whatever, and his decision to eschew the arranged marriage to follow his heart is a romantic, heroic thing in all other forms of fiction. That's not the thing that gets yourself, your wife, your unborn child, and your fucking mother all killed, and that is just how dark Game of Thrones is. You can't expect that to happen in the exact same way that if you're Robb, you don't expect that to happen. It's just like the Red Wedding is going to be maybe harder to get through than it ever has been, other than the very first time you watch it, you're just like in awe. Yeah, the entire time. Like, if anyone hasn't, YouTube Red Wedding reaction videos, and you will go down a YouTube hole for like 6 hours just watching people.
Because I remember just being like, "Is this happening?"
I think that the main thing that's I know we were cutting it like way ahead, but like the main thing just like that I think of when I think back on that episode, and I think it was beautifully done, is there's like not a lick of fucking music at any point after the betrayal starts, and man, it's like the absence of music like really sticks in my brain as far as how I remember that scene playing out. But yeah, we will basically, when we get to episode 9 in the Red Wedding, it's probably going to end up being like half the episode is just us analyzing.
I was going to say, you could talk all day long about the Red Wedding.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, from there we go to Arya talking with Thoros and Beric. This is when you get the full backstory of just how many times he's been resurrected.
Yes. And it has a side effect.
Yeah, this is when he establishes like every time I come back, there's a bit missing. I forget his exact phrasing, but yeah. Like
he said he comes back a bit less.
A bit less, yeah. And Macy Williams is great in this scene because this is when she starts, kind of throwing out the idea of, like, we know, can you bring back someone if they've lost their head? And then Thoros is like, I don't really think it works that way. And yeah, her performance is really standout. And the other thing, I had forgotten that the Mountain was one of the other people that had killed Barrick.
Yeah.
So he's like, Barrick says, like, I've died now 6 times. Second time I've been killed by a Clegane. And then Thoros just says that you think you'd learn. I would watch an entire fucking show that was just those two guys.
Just those two?
Just those two guys.
That could be one of the potential spinoffs, the Brotherhood Without Banners. I mean,
I would watch the fuck out of that.
That'd be like your Firefly of Game of Thrones, basically. Which means it would get canceled in the middle of season 1.
Right. Anything to do with people who have flaming swords is like greenlit in my book, if I'm HBO. The only other thing that's really established is the fact that they don't really want to, because they both respect Ned and his heritage and his family, but they have to ransom her because they need the fucking money.
Right.
It's like the nicest hostage exchange ever. Because I think he even says, like, she points out how it's like a hostage exchange, and Thoros is like, it is and it isn't, and then she says, more is than isn't. From there, they go to Stannis and Selyse.
Is this the first time we've seen her?
I'm pretty sure they've shown Selyse, but this is in a few minutes when we get to the intro. I believe it's the first time you are introduced to Shireen, the daughter.
Yeah, Shireen. Okay.
But you want to talk about, like, scene that will bring chills to you. When they pan around and show how she has the stillborn babies inside,
like Village of the Damned style,
inside the little cauldron things, and like, I don't know if you caught it, but like, just the level of goddamn macabre detail that goes into this show. If you look, they actually took the time to have one of the stillborn babies like mouths gape open, just to like, oh, it just like makes my skin crawl thinking about it.
And she's like living with these, and she's
they're like in her fucking bedroom. Yeah,
they're like, she's like going over there and like almost embracing them at one point. And yeah, it was straight up reminded me of something like out of Village of the Damned or Alien Resurrection or something like that.
This is when you start to see just how batshit insane Selyse is when she says no act done in service of the Lord of Light can ever be a sin. After she's heard that her husband has been unfaithful, and she could not be more okay with it. You were like, bitch is unhinged. Like,
yeah.
And then amid all of these just destroyed characters, you have Shireen, who is like the single nicest person in the show.
I know.
And she's just so adorable, and
it is hard to watch any scene with her knowing what happens.
Yeah, I totally agree. But the fact that, like, the way the mom talks about I brought you nothing, and it's just like 30 feet down the hall is your daughter. Ugh.
And the way she talked about, like, when he said he wanted to see his daughter, like, the way that she was acting about it, like, why would you?
Yeah,
and she's like, "Well, you're a king. You don't need my permission."
And then
the fuck is wrong with you people?
And then to flash forward, she is the one, saying, like, the quote that I pointed out, like, no act done in service of the Lord of Light can ever be a sin. For her to be the one to speak up, like, once Shireen's execution starts happening, for her to be the one to try and stop it and be stopped doing it, and then her killing herself because of it is just. Man, Stannis is an unlikable guy. Because at certain points in the show, if you remember, like, they get to points where they pull like a bit of a Jaime with him, where they give you just glimpses of a likable guy somewhere in there,
Yeah.
But when you reevaluate, knowing where it goes in the full scope, it is impossible to do anything but hate that man.
Yeah.
You can respect him at certain moments. You can respect him to certain extents as far as, like, his strategy at points, how he is willing to be the first guy, like at the Blackwater Bay stuff. He's like the first fucking guy on the beach. Like, you respect him, but God, he's unlikable.
Everything he does, you're just like, oh,
it's cringeworthy, just about.
Yeah.
And then they go and introduce. He leaves, and I just think it's interesting how, like, to some extent, like, everyone there is a prisoner. Like, the wife might as well be a prisoner. Davos is obviously a prisoner because he's actually in the cell, but they all feel like prisoners. Either like Stannis is almost like a prisoner of his own ambition.
Yeah.
Shireen is a prisoner for the most bullshit of reasons. Yeah. And especially, I can imagine this is hard for you now that you have a daughter, just like thinking of how you can ever get to that mindset of.
I can't imagine.
You can't imagine.
I just can't imagine. And dude, when we get there, like, you hear the screams. Like, the screams are more prevalent than anything.
Yeah.
It's
rough.
My kid wasn't even born back then, and that still kind of haunts me.
Yeah. From there, we go to one of the best scenes I think they've ever put into the series is this scene by Nikolai Coster-Waldau. This is where it is him and Jaime. This is the scene with him and Brienne in the bath. And I fucking love everything about this whole scene. This is when the first thing that you have to love is like where Brienne's on the opposite side of the baths and he walks naked all the way around. She's like, there are other baths. She's like, this one suits me just fine. And he gets in the bath with her.
Yeah.
And this is like the context you get to the Mad King, to you get like the full extent of the Kingslayer origin. You get background into Ned not being maybe the greatest guy that you've been led to believe because of he's the one who catches Jaime after he has killed the king. Yeah. And just like his acting when he recites this whole backstory, it is one of the finest moments of acting in the series to me. Yeah,
it's pretty amazing. And like you said, it goes into what we talked about in a previous episode about just how much in this era, like, your word and keeping your oath and all that means, because it's the Mad King. Everybody knows he's mad. Ned Stark was there to dethrone him and stop him. And when he finds him dead, like, everybody looks down on Jaime. Like, what were you going to do when you got there? But because Jaime had an oath
and they know that he was fucking setting kids on fire even.
Yeah.
Because to get to that point, they had been fighting through the fucking streets.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is he is one of the most interesting characters really to me. And what's cool is, like, I think he is probably like the best case of them creating a gray character, even though like they're all very interesting gray characters. Most of them are very interesting gray characters. I think he might be the most single interesting gray character background they create, because you have every reason to hate this guy, but then again you have so many reasons to love this guy, just because like you feel for him, like to be stuck in that situation and do what he did, and then to be just crucified for it forever.
I was gonna say, and then no one ever lets him live it down, even though he saved all their lives and countless others by doing exactly what he did, but all because he broke an oath. He's cast out the way that he is. And you get, that's been years that happened. So for years, he's been enduring that. He's going to be kind of a dick. I mean, think about it. What that would do to you mentally, physically. You'd just be exhausted all the time, and you just might push a 10-year-old kid out a window.
And when you parallel what he did as the Kingslayer, killing the Mad King for the woman he is in love with Cersei, becoming basically the Mad Queen, And I caught this detail watching it too. One of the things he says when he starts listing about the way that Eris had used and stationed wildfire throughout the city, he specifically says Eris had set up wildfire under the Sept of Baelor. That is the exact place where Cersei blows up all the Tyrells and all of them.
Yeah.
So it's like
spoilers.
I think it's fucking genius how the Kingslayer who killed the Mad King is madly in love with the Mad Queen now, and
she does the same thing.
She does the exact same.
It happened anyway.
And it's
despite
almost,
his best efforts, it happened anyway.
It's almost too predictable to have Jaime be the one to kill her, but I could see it happening too, just because it's almost like
it's his nightmare all over again.
It's almost like too poetic to pass up, but I could also see them going the route of he's in position to kill her to do it all over again, and he can't do it, and then she kills him, and they both die together. I could also see them having almost like a Romeo and Juliet type of situation.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
When you think about just the fact that we have 13 episodes left, and
shit's going to get cray, man.
I'm so fascinated just to see how many people are left standing.
One.
Like by the end of season 7,
there can only be one, Jeff.
Yeah, no kidding. It's gonna be Gendry. Gendry's rolling back in the whole fucking countryside. There's like dead dragons.
I'm back, bitches.
He rolls in. There's fucking dead dragons and zombies everywhere, and there's a wildfire throughout all the countryside. He just turns right back around, rolls right back out to sea. And
he just steps over everybody since everybody's dead, and he just sits down on the throne, and that's that.
Basically,
just credits.
Gendry for the win. And then, oh my god, it's so fucking.
He has a tiger,
right? It's so devastating when he passes out, and Brienne grabs him, and her first instinct is to yell for help and come help the Kingslayer.
Yeah,
and then it is just the way he says my name's Jaime. It's like, oh my god, that scene is so well done.
Everything about that scene.
That scene is so well written. It's so well. It is one of the best scenes in a fantastic series full of nothing but really good scenes. It's so good. From there we go to Davos and Shireen, where this is where Shireen's trying to bring him a book. I love her quote. She's so adorable. She's like, what are they going to do? Throw us in cells?
Yeah.
And it's funny, but also just like devastating at the same time.
Well, like you pointed out, I mean, they're already prisoners.
They're all prisoners, essentially.
Yeah, so
officially or unofficially, and this is when she starts to teach him how to read. And then you fucking hate Stannis. Like every time Shireen comes on screen, it's just like my hatred for Stannis burns deeper and deeper and deeper. From there, we finally get to the Khaleesi portion of the episode. These sequences start out focusing on Jorah and Barristan, where they're giving kind of their backstories as far as Jorah talking about when he was knighted and he had pissed in like 16 hours. He was almost the first knight to piss on the king's shoes or whatever.
Yeah,
that attention to detail.
And Barristan was talking about how Robert was the type that he would have thought it was hilarious or something.
And I like how they have Barristan talk about how he was a good man. He was a great warrior. He was a terrible king. Like, I wasted my years fighting for terrible kings.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. He gets to go out fighting for someone he believes in. I think that's a very cool touch that he has a tragic ending in that he died, but he died a warrior's death, which is, what he would want. He's basically like a Viking almost in the
pretty much
scheme of things.
He is, in a way, he's worse than Ned with the honor stuff because he is a knight and he was a king's guard. That's what led to him seeking out Khaleesi to begin with, because you don't retire from the king's guards, and they retired him, and he's just completely driven by his honor wherever it demands him to go.
I think it's interesting too how they point out that the leader of the Knights Guard typically is on the small council. Lives by the
sword. That's what I was trying to think of. He lives by the sword.
Yeah, that's for sure. But I was pointing out that they mentioned how typically the leader of the King's Guard is on the small council, but since he was faithful to the Mad King, doing his duty, he had to kill several of Robert's friends, so he never wanted advice from the guy who had murdered so many of his buddies, essentially. Now the next character we're introduced to, a lot of important characters get introduced in this episode. Grey Worm is a fully, now they might have shown him. I didn't get a chance to go back because we were curious if that soldier they fixated on at the end of the episode where she betrays the Krasny's guy and gets all of them and everything, if that was him or not. But this is when they formally introduce Grey Worm.
Khaleesi's face when she hears his name, and then their names are explained to her.
Yeah, they are names of vermin.
Yeah,
to
remind them what they are.
Black flea and like white mouse and all of that stuff. And then she tries to get them all to create your own name that you can be proud of. And he's,
I am proud.
He's like,
basically.
I am proud of this because, my original name was the unlucky one. That was when I was cut and everything, and when I was made into this. But when I was freed, I was Grey Worm, so I'll keep that in one. I
love Grey Worm.
I like Grey Worm too. He's really
loyal to a fault in every way, but I still love him.
I do too.
I totally wrecked your train of thought.
just a bit. With from there they go back to Jorah and Barristan, where Barristan starts talking about how you don't exactly have the best reputation there, Jorah, as a slave trader back over, out west. And maybe the best thing for the queen would be you to kind of take a step back. And he's like, well, bitch, you've been here for 5 days, so I take my orders from the queen. And he just walks away on the...
Here's my exact notes, word for word, on this entire scene. 3 bullet points. Jorah and Barristan getting along. Grey Worm, fuck yes. Jorah and Barristan no longer getting along.
Your notes are way more interesting.
Way more better.
Yeah, they are way more better, interesting. Adjective. Yeah. Bad grammar. Way more entertaining than mine. I will give you that. Okay, from here we go to the fallout from the Robin of things. The Karstarks are officially gone since Captain Karstark missing the head. Kind of an issue. Now,
Tony Karstark.
Now, the way that they... Okay, so his new plan, as he's talking to... What the fuck is the name of his wife? I blank on her name all the time.
You're the only one here that knew it.
I knew it.
Starts with an I, right?
We took what?
Starts with an I, right?
I knew it. We took 2 weeks off. And god damn it, I forgot. Okay, so the way that the episode is kind of framed, and if I'm not looking at the screen, it's because I'm going to IMDb right now to figure out what her fucking name is. Talissa, I think is what it is.
Oh, but, yeah, totally an I.
So, as he's talking to her, he has this idea that he's basically going to pull what happened to him at Winterfell. He's going to pull that on Tywin. He's going to go to Casterly Rock. And the way that they pump up and escalate the music and have this little kind of fuck yeah moment is fucking cruel as shit when you know what happens. Yes. They are intentionally setting you up to fuck yes, this is going to be awesome. 4 episodes later, everyone's dead. They're so good at misleading people that aren't familiar with that aren't familiar or know what happens later. They're so good. It's ridiculous how cruel and good they are at it.
I know. And just imagine the possibilities if he had actually done that.
But since he killed Mr. Karstark and lost all of his guys, he needs Walder Frey's guys again. Dun 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 dun.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Is Walder Frey, is that actor David Bradley?
I'm pretty the groundskeeper guy around Harry Potter and the first Doctor.
Yes.
Yeah, that's him. Fucking love that guy so much. You want to talk about a guy who can play lovable as shit and despicable in the blink of an eye is that guy.
I know. The guy is
great.
a fantastic actor.
So good. Really gotta check out The Strain, dude. I keep telling you that. He's the fucking vampire hunter from World War II.
Really?
It's fucking metal as shit, dude. He's awesome.
I'm gonna have to watch that just for him. It's in my purgatory. I just haven't watched it.
He makes the show watchable by himself because his character and his backstory is fucking great. Did you have any other notes for the Rob stuff?
Nope.
Okay. Next up, they go to Sansa and Marjorie. This is where they're kind of talking about how they're going to go about setting up her arranged marriage with Loras. And, Joffrey might not like it, but, Joffrey will listen to me. Marjorie's already kind of assuming control, taking over things, going full Cersei mode, just not as evil, essentially.
Yeah, more cunning.
Yeah. And I had actually forgotten that the way they figured it out was through Littlefinger's spy that he sets up just to go bang Iron Fist.
See, I remembered them doing that. He's also the same guy that's with the fuck's his name later. The dude from Dorne gets his face crushed in.
The Viper?
Yes. It's also the same dude with him, but I would remember him being the spy. What I did not remember was it being the very next scene that they basically revealed that.
Yeah. Yeah, the editing is interesting in that because
that's usually something you wait an episode or two to find out.
Not like they go from like point A to point F in about 5 minutes of screen time.
Bing, bang, boom.
Boom, done type of thing. So I imagine
the next scene is Iron Fisted, like spilling the beans.
The God damn it. I imagine that plot line, assuming it was directly translated, I bet that took quite a while to establish in the book, where they in the show had to go boom, 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 done. So yeah, Littlefinger was incredibly effective at figuring out their whole plan,
as he usually is. Littlefinger did what Littlefinger does best.
And in true Littlefinger fashion, he goes and immediately goes to talk to Sansa because he knows exactly what the fuck they're thinking. And Sansa does a pretty good job lying directly to his face about how she actually appears to be concerned for him. Mm-hmm. And that's her reasoning for staying. But Littlefinger fucking knows exactly why she wants to stay. And yeah, they're already starting like the whole Sansa becoming Littlefinger as she's talking to Littlefinger type of thing that ends up being season 5, I think, is when they really start.
I believe so. Yeah. The impression I got was like how it immediately cuts to him with her is that he ran to her to like basically take the temperature, like see where she's sitting on the fence, if she's thinking about leaving or thinking about staying. And the fact he is not happy about the answer he gets.
Yes, and the fact that her excuse ties in with her concern for him that could not have been too great to hear.
Yeah.
So I do like his quote too when he first walks up to her and he's like, always wanted a boat, there's my boat, now I want 12. The whole you're never satisfied thing. That was a great dialogue. It totally transcends the show because that could not be more true. There's always something else that you want. It doesn't matter.
There's always more.
And let's get to the very last scene of the episode, and this is where Tywin and Cersei have
this scene is terrible and great at the same time.
Right. So Tywin has summoned Tyrion in the I think it was a small council chamber with those three. Yes. Yeah, because his that's
basically Tywin's office.
Yeah, because his office is like 10 feet outside his room. I remember them talking about that now.
Yeah.
So Tyrion walks in, and Cersei could not have a bigger shit-eating grin on her face this entire time. And this is when Tyrion finds out that they have found out what the Tyrells are planning as far as the marriages, how they're going to undercut the Lannisters in a big bad way, and I did make sure to write down the quote just because it made me laugh. The joke about how Tyrion says, "Oh, Sansa might be missing some of Loras's favorite bits, but I guess they'll make do."
Yeah.
I laughed out loud at that. And then Tywin, which this scene is like how you were talking about how it's terrible and great at the same time. What Tywin does is super fucked up, but good God, is it genius?
Yeah.
Like, it's just fucking genius the way he just totally fucks over the Tyrells in this, like, one fell swoop, gets everything his family wants, basically, as far as titles and everything.
Well, it doesn't just fuck up the Tyrells, it fucks up Littlefinger, it fucks up the Tyrells, and once again, Lannisters win.
Because they not only have a better hold of Joffrey, because by doing this, Marjorie ends up getting less kind of control over things. Because the Tyrells overall are weakened, they get basically control of Winterfell, Casterly Rock, and King's Landing, all in one fell swoop of 2 marriages. Now, he tells Tyrion, I have arranged you will marry Sansa. Now, what I'd forgotten about is that they actually have the callback to the scene in the tent where he had revealed his marriage to the prostitute.
Yes.
Because he says, I was wedded, don't you remember? And their stare down that they have each other, like, for one moment, Tyrion actually was defiant to him,
Yeah.
And just like the stare they give each other, it's bone chilling.
Yeah, and another thing that I was going to point out, too, to keep in mind is, what is Sansa's age in the book that we're talking about here?
All right. In the books, I believe Arya is like 8-ish, roughly during this time frame. I've always kind of accepted kind of like the fact that I would imagine Sansa is, what would you guess, like maybe like 3 or 4 years older, so like maybe 12?
I was thinking like 13, 14. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, something.
And you'll marry her and you'll put a baby in her belly and blah, blah, blah. He's just talking about it like she's a piece of meat.
Exactly. And then tying into what you just said, he turns the tables on Cersei and arranges that Cersei will marry Loras.
Because she's still good breeding stock.
He literally uses the verb breed. Yeah. And you just like, as you're watching, just like, oh man, this is dark. This is so dark.
And the look on Cersei's face.
And she says, oh, like, not again. Don't make me do it again. You're just like, damn, dude. Like, Tywin, I can't help but love him because that character is just so great and so fascinating and so well acted. But, like, good God. Yeah. It is disturbing how cold he is.
He sells Tywin so well.
Yeah.
Charles Dance?
Yeah.
It's too late. I can't fucking come up with names right now.
Yeah, well, we can't come up with names on a good day. So, that's pretty much a wrap to the episode. Was there any other notes that you had that we had missed along the way?
I have, God damn it, Benioff and Weiss for the song in the end credits. Because is that who I think it is?
It was Shireen, I believe, right?
That's who I was thinking. So I had, God damn it, Benioff and Weiss was my note. Because knowing what happens to her and you just get to end on hearing her.
Every time she walks on screen, you're just like super, super sad.
Yeah.
Oh, just outside of my head, though, there was, I think we did miss one portion with Snow and Ygritte. We didn't mention the scene in the cave. They do have the scene. I forget exactly where it was.
She takes Longclaw, right? And like runs away.
Yeah. Actually, I think that was probably... Yeah, they might have had all of their scenes together in one group. So
they did.
She took a sword, ran away into the cave, and that's the scene when he breaks his vow by sleeping with her, and then everything with them breaks my heart too, because I want them to work out so bad because Ygritte is so fucking cool.
Fucking Oliver Queen back there.
And when you think about it too, I didn't really connect it until just then too. When you think about it, Ollie technically kills both of them.
Yep.
Because he is the last person to fucking stab Snow.
Yep.
And it's just like that little fucking prick.
Yep.
That son of a bitch. Yeah. Egret is not really on the show for very long.
No, not at all. I remember her being in there much longer, but I was watching it week to week.
Yeah, and from year to year, and when you marathon them and you realize she's only in a handful of episodes, like the tail end of season 2, she is in season 3, and then she doesn't even really get a full 2 seasons, really, when you think about just how little she's in the show. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how in your mind you reallocate screen time where it wasn't there.
Yeah.
When you're thinking
the one I always go back to is Tyrion and Bronn just walking through the woods. It felt like it was 4 episodes week to week. It was in 1 episode and that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. That one, to me, I was like, why did my brain stretch that out so long?
I don't know why, but when you said like Tyrion and Bronn's like adventures, like my brain went to Robin Hood and Little John walking through the forest. I don't know.
I thought you were gonna just jump straight to fighting around the world.
And fighting around the world. Well, we have to go watch South Park now. So good job, Ron. Can we have a fucking episode on this channel without one South Park reference? Like
Tugga, no.
If anyone made South Park references on this channel, a drinking game, you'd be fucking dead.
Dude, when Game of Thrones ends, we're just gonna have to start a South Park one.
Fuck, I would be totally on board.
Because you could write an entire college thesis on every episode that they do.
Yeah, because it's fucking genius. Like, yeah. It's like, yeah, but before this turns into a South Park review.
Fighting around the world.
Fighting around the world. Okay, this has been a wrap to Season 3, Episode 5. Just a quick heads up. We are going to be putting Westerospective on a bit of a break while we switch over to talk about the current season, obviously, but we probably will be returning to this after the new season concludes. So be sure to check out the continuing adventures of Ron and Geoff fighting around the world. I think probably tail end of August or maybe probably September when Westerospective will return, because there's 7 episodes. Yeah, so we're about roughly 2 months. But please check out tonight's watch, where I'm so excited to actually talk about.
I cannot wait.
It's like, I love Game of Thrones and I love analyzing these older episodes, but there's nothing like watching the episode and then just going on and having like an outlet to vent about how fucking awesome it was,
Right.
Like, yeah, just to kind of like unload your brain.
I'm probably going to go through 6 again.
What I do is I watch the last like 3 episodes of the previous season and watch it as kind of like a movie lead up. Mm-hmm. So I'll be watching 8, 9, and 10, which is basically like a movie, the way they've been doing the show the last few
those episodes were sort of mind-blowing.
Yeah, it was... I forget exactly what 8 was, but 9 was Battle of the Bastards. And, dude, just watching Battle of the Bastards is... Even though I've already seen it multiple times, it will not ever cease to amaze me. But, yes, we have social media links in the description for Facebook and Twitter if you wanted to follow us on those. Like and subscribe to the channel. That gets you all of our content in addition to the Game of Thrones content we do. We also have a weekly news vodcast for primarily movie and TV news in the geek world. And please share us out. We would greatly appreciate it. I'm Geoff.
I'm Ron.
For this night and all the nights to come, I fucked up the outro.
You totally fucked it up.
Bye, guys. New outro.
Like, you're looking at me like I don't know what to do with this.
New outro. Ron and Geoff will go fighting around the world.
Okay.